Good morning, folks, or afternoon, depending upon when you happen to be watching this quick little video. But as I look around Salem today on this lovely Sunday morning on the 14th of July, 2023, some days, a few days after the big flood, water is still up high, more than halfway up into my yard. Fortunately, everything has been tied together that would considered buoyant, dock pieces, canoes, kayak, the entire fleet. Nothing has floated away. I know that we've had some loose flotsam and jetsam get loose, and if you've lost anything or if anything has arrived, tie it off, put a post on our Facebook page, and hopefully we'll be able to track it down. On that note, as we look around Salem and see things like that happening, here's an interesting bit of timely video. You may not know who owns which property or where to find a name or a location. And it's kind of reminds me of the fact that we at one point had this giant printed map, if you recall, of the lake and who owned what camps, and it was a numbering system. And if you really look at the date of this one I have is June of 1999. So to say that it's outdated is an understatement. So every now and then this comes up, and we thought that we looked at maybe doing another updated version of it. We had some folks approach us about doing that when the idea of looking at the Derby Center website came up, and we discovered there is one. Not only is there one, but it's actually current. So I wanted to spend a little moment or two to walk you through what that looks like, where you can find it, how you can maneuver around with it, and use it as a little bit of a tool, which right now is a perfect chance because as people are looking for their property or looking for some of their assets and things like that, or have discovered free paddles or free kayaks, know that they belong to somebody. So here's a quick little look and where you can find that. And I went to the derbyvt.org site, which you can see right here, derbyvt.org. And if you go over to from their homepage, there are the tabs at the top of the nav bar. Go to tax maps. Clickety click on tax maps. Up comes the tax maps landing page. Right there, dead center. Click on tax maps online. Takes a second to load. I'm not on the fastest internet speed up here. Up comes a new third-party site that puts Derby Center pretty much at the dead center of your screen. Obviously, you can zero in on and maneuver down to Lake Salem. And as you go down further and further, and I'm using my mouse roller, which is a very handy way to do it. No phone, I imagine you can do this on your phone by pitching out, but really do you want to be spending your time trying to look at that on a phone? I'm not so sure that would work too well as an experience. But since I'm doing the video and since I'm going to pick on myself as an example here, I'm going to scroll up and down to find my property, which I happen to know is off of Salem Drive. I'll try to center that as best I can. And you'll see that there are numbers all up and down the lake and around the perimeter. So zeroing in, keeping it in center, I'm on Salem Drive. Sorry, not Salem Drive, Summer Lane. I'm looking at the map here and I'm thinking Salem when I should be saying Summer. So Summer Lane on the 105 side, zero in, it refreshes as we go further and further in. And I happen to be plot number 009. Kind of wish I was 007. That'd be so cool. James Bond 007. Anyway, so you can zoom in, and as you zero in and click on, or just let the mouse click on that, up comes the property information. The address is 106 Summer Lane, Votapka family, that's me. And picture of the camp, taken from the back of the camp. And it has my home address where I can be reached and all that. It doesn't really give you any much further information. So if you're worried about giving out your phone numbers and your cell phones and your emails, it's not going to have that kind of information. But it will give you some information as to who belongs where and what camps and properties they own. It may not be the most accurate map I've ever seen as far as property lines, because when I actually looked at my property, I was surprised to see that I am listed as owning this little section directly in back of my neighbor's camps, in this little sort of heel here of my property, which gives me 165 feet of back property, which really is along the road here that gets down to our camp. So um, I don't know where that came from. My property only goes as far as this line here, as far as I knew, and as far as my deed says back in the day. But anyway, so you can zoom out and go anywhere you like, and I won't pick on anybody else. The other curious thing that I found was if you go across the lake, I'm zooming out here, you see this Bermuda Triangle here. Well, that is not the Bermuda Triangle, and it is a safe place to navigate your boats, by the way. This is actually the town of Morgan, and the town of Morgan is separate from the town of Derby, as we all know, and obviously anybody's properties here along this section of Dumas Drive are in the town of Morgan, not on the tax map for town of Derby. So therefore, this is a zone here where you're not going to find anybody's name or property numbers. They're just not in the town of Derby as far as Derby is concerned. So while they are not on the map, that doesn't mean they don't exist. So that's our little black area, or blackout area, if you will. But that's what the town of Morgan creeps in. Not sure how that ever got established. That's an interesting little spike in the town of Morgan's property tax map line, but not for me to decide how. So anyway, that's the map. I'll zoom back out. There's your Salem Lake map and all the other areas. And you could do that for just about any other area if you're interested in, other parts of Vermont. You can zoom in on Morgan, you can zoom in on West Charleston, take a look down at Willoughby if you like. Wherever you'd like to go, you can do the same thing in those properties. But this is a pretty cool tool to use. I found it pretty easy to navigate, even with the map and all that. That little weird thing in my property, but it's cool. And just to back out again, this is where I found it. I was over here at the tax maps, online tax maps, from the home page, tax maps up in the nav bar up here at the top. While I'm in here, just so you know, this is actually kind of a cool website, because it does give you the upcoming select board agenda and reviews of the last few meetings. Not that you need to go through every single one of these, but if there are things here that have to do with what might be going on at Salem, they do show up on the agenda, and they would show up on the select board minutes. We haven't had anything going on with the town of Derby since before we treated the lake with Priscilla Core. So that would have been last year's battle and set of presentations. But anyway, it's just here for you to use, and it's the derbyvt.org. Tax maps is the link, and I will put this on our website in case anybody wants to use that as a tool to get in there. And that's it. So that's what's going around Salem, which right now around Salem includes my yard. Hope you're all faring well with this flood. Hope you haven't really lost anything. Hope everything is doing well. Certainly minor inconveniences of docks and loose pieces are floating around is nothing compared to what we are seeing in other townships, from St. J to Lindenville and Barry and Johnson and Heinsberg. So our hearts and prayers go out to everybody in those areas that are more deeply affected and impacted by by the floodwaters. It's certainly odd that it's been a year to the date that this happened. So hopefully this is not becoming an annual tradition around here. So that's it. Get outside, stay out of the water for a few more days. It's pretty dirty, and what you see is murk. What you don't see is what is living inside the murk. So there could be bacteria in there. There could be some other nasty things, and certainly keep your pets from romping around in the water too. My dog likes to lap up the water and drink, and I try to keep that to an absolute minimum. So he only goes in the backyard now until this all settles down. So that's it. That's my tips for you for today. See you all soon. Bye now.